Let me move though. We've already spoken about Lyme's disease. Now we're going to look at snakes, which I don't like. But I've got an invitation to go along to Minutes to Die at 7 o'clock tomorrow in the NUI Lecture Theatre in the Ryan Institute on Annex first floor. And it's called Minutes to Die, but Dr. John Dunbar joins me on line 1 today. Dr. Dunbar, good morning to you.
Good morning, Keith. How are you?
Good. From Lyme's disease to snakes. But the film takes us very much into where people live every day with the threat of bites from snakes, and they could die in minutes.
Absolutely, yeah. So around the world, most people are aware that there's various types of venomous snakes, such as cobras and vipers like rattlesnakes. But most people, especially here in the West, are not aware that nearly 100,000 people or more die every year. Over 5 million are bitten, and that leaves also with about 400 people suffering from amputations and severe disfigurement. And it causes a real impact on their lives, medically, health-wise, and also financially.
And is there any, what would one call it, but is there any treatment that one can get? Is there anti-venom kind of drugs that can be injected if it's got quick enough?
Absolutely. So anti-venom is the only medical treatment that you can use for snakebite. But the problem is the communities where the people are there who are affected live very remote. And it's all to do with infrastructure, getting them to medical centres, and then is the anti-venom even available in these centres? And the other problem is on the research side, you've got other issues such as in snakes themselves, you've got a phenomenon called regional variation in venom composition. And that means different species, in addition to different species having different venom compositions, even within one species that lives in a slightly different region within the same country could have a different venom composition. And that makes it very difficult when you try to develop an overall anti-venom for one snake or one group of snakes in the population, when somebody who's bitten by the same species but in a different region it could have different effects, so the anti-venom wouldn't be as effective.
You're saying that the people who are affected by this, which by the way are mostly children and agricultural workers, they're living remotely, but they're also very poor people. Absolutely,
yeah. Some of these are living on less than $1 a day, and you could have treatment, ongoing treatment after, they spend a long time in hospital, and it could cost probably several $100.
Just to survive.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you're saying 125,000 lives are lost, but mostly children and agricultural workers.
Yeah, so these are people who are, if you look at children who are playing, agricultural workers, so they don't have mechanised equipment, they're using very primitive methods, and are exposing themselves to the danger, so they're not wearing shoes, because it would be very uncomfortable in those tropical regions. They usually wear flip-flops, and then they're not going to wear any gloves either, so they're getting bit on the extremities, their feet and their hands. Sometimes then there's cases where these people live in mud huts, and the snakes are very easily able to access their dwellings, and there's many cases where people are bitten in their sleep.
Why, a stupid question, Dr. Dunbar, so don't take offence, why would the snake go into a hut to bite somebody? I would have thought that if it happened in the field, if somebody was coming after them with a pickaxe or something, they use it as a self-defence mechanism.
Yeah, well, you've got people living inside, so naturally you're going to have some food inside which will draw in the rodents, and snakes would naturally come in looking for...
They come in looking for the food, and then if they're challenged, then they...
Well, what often happens is they move along, because these people sleep on the floors a lot, so they'd move alongside them, and if somebody rolls over on top of them, the snake thinks they're being attacked. So it's completely defensive, but...
And have you spent much time on the ground in these places?
I've not really. I've spent a little bit of time when I first learned about it in India when I was doing my degree. But then I went on after that to work in the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, where I worked with about 450 venomous snakes, and I helped with the maintenance of the snakes, and I helped a guy named Paul Rowley carry out the venom extractions. And this venom produced here was made available to places to make antivenom, but also the research group in Liverpool were looking to make more effective antivenom treatment.
Well, listen, good luck with it. It's then tomorrow is called Minutes to Die at 7 o'clock on Wednesday 31st. That's tomorrow night in the Ryan Institute Annex first floor, and there'll be Q&A afterwards as well. It's an interesting, it really is an interesting, it's an interesting industry, an interesting job that you have, Dr. Dunbar.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for joining us today on the programme, Dr. John Dunbar, and that takes place tomorrow night at 7 p.m. the Ryan Institute first floor, and away you go.